Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we're going solo, talking about the major, doing the CDL Wordle, ending with the gridlock, talking about some potential roster changes, and just talking about where teams stand post major. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. I'm going solo today. Brock, as we speak, is on his way to Japan. So Brock's going to be gone for a couple weeks here, and just going to be me solo. We have something new coming. I believe it's going to be the first week when Brock is back. He is going to miss this week, and then I believe it is next week for sure he'll miss, but I think he's going to be back late next week, so he should be here for the following Monday after week 1 of the stage 3 qualifier. So Brock will be back. Don't worry, he is not disappeared. He's actually going to be on like a 2-week trip in Japan. So I hope he's having a ton of fun. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's his first time leaving the country. He might have been to Mexico, but he's going to be in Japan for the next about 2 weeks. So we will have no Brock. I'll probably be running just this episode solo, then maybe I'll do just like a random video since there's no matches. Next week I'll just do something solo, probably talking about some roster changes or something, whatever goes on in this little off week here. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So they might be a little shorter. The next couple weeks is not as much to talk about when I'm just sitting here yapping by myself. So yeah, let's jump into the CDL Wordle. I can't ask Brock who to pick first today, but in honor of Brock, I'm gonna pick one of his favorite players. That's Tej. And he's a good starting guess because he does have like a decent amount of wins. So it kind of gets you to a good higher or lower, and he's played for a lot of teams. This person has no rings, less wins than Tej, and they're 25. They haven't played for any of these teams. Okay. Who am I going to go with second here? They're young-ish with no wins. I'm going to actually go with, this is kind of a weird guess. Maybe, I don't know if he's actually 25, but I'm going to go with Fame. Fame for the next guess. Okay, this person played for Minnesota, no wins. Fame's only 24. Okay, I thought he might be 25. They have no wins. Played for Minnesota. I haven't played. I was gonna guess ASIM, but 25. Standy. Standy has a win though, and he played for Vegas. It's a bad guess. I'm gonna go with Estriel. Played for LAG also. Shoot. I'm going to go with ASIM, even though I know it's not ASIM because obviously he's played with some of these teams. I want to see if he's played for any of the other teams that ASIM has played for, or if he was teammates. Okay, that helps. London and Minnesota and teammates with ASIM. I feel like I should have. I mean, is this just Paul again? Wasn't it just Paul the other day? Is this not just Paul again? Am I tripping? Oh, it's not Paul. Paul's only 23. Oh, and he's a win. I'm an idiot. He was also teammates with Paul, though. Oh my God, who else? Who else was Minnesota and London and was teammates with both Paul and ASIM? I should know this. Who else was on that team? Illey? I don't think he's 25, though. I don't think he played for Minnesota. Dude, I'm blanking. I guess I'm going to guess Illey, even though it's not him. I'm lost right now. Yeah, he didn't play. Yeah, he didn't play for Minnesota. I knew that. Did Decimate ever play for London? I don't think so. Teammates with both ASIM and Paul X. So it's not Nero. He wasn't. He's on Boston. It's not Estriel. He was on LAG. Gio was on Las Vegas. So it's not any of the current teammates of Paul. So it's got to be a teammate of Paul when he was on London. Maybe New York, because ASIM was on New York as well. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I wasn't even looking at the United States category. This is why we need Brock. This is why we need Brock. I'm such an idiot. I wasn't even looking at the category where they're from. It's probably a UK player. Oh my God. Just cut this out of the video. This is bad. I'm going to guess Scraps just to see. Okay, UK, London, wasn't teammates with Scraps. It's obviously not Bans. He has no wins. Dude, who's a UK player? Who is a UK player, chat, that played for London and Minnesota? Bance. I can't think of anybody else besides Bance, literally. He's like the only person that comes to mind right now. I don't know why. Linz isn't from England. Didn't play for London either. Dude, why could I might just have to skip to not make this too long in the video. I might just have to hit give up to not make this too long in the video. Is it Alex? Was Alex on both? And like, okay. I know ball. It was Alex. He hasn't played in so long. I kind of forgot about him. He was a demon in World War II and was on those early, he was on like Minnesota early on and London early on and hasn't played in so long. Okay. I'm not a complete idiot. I was able to get it. Okay, we are going to cut on over here to the tier maker. You guys can see these are the power rankings. We didn't do them last week. I think these are the power rankings from about 2 weeks ago when Faze were kind of looking a little bit shaky. Obviously, and LA Thieves were undefeated online. So these are a little bit old. I'm going to go ahead and shift around our power rankings here. So we're going to slide. I'm going to move it around just to what it is now. So we're going to slide Faze up to 1. I'm going to keep LAT 2, and we'll explain when we get there. Toronto is moving up to 4. We're having Carolina switch all the way down to 6. Cloud9 up to 5. Going to have Boston jump all the way up to 7, even though I don't know how I feel about that. We'll bump Minnesota down, bump them down again. And that's probably where we're going to settle with the power rankings, although I don't love a few teams where they are, and I'll explain why when I get there and why I think they might shift again quickly. But that's what we're rocking with, and we're kind of going to go team by team and talk about the major now. So Vegas Falcons, first team up. I mean, not a whole lot to say here at the major. I mean, they go down 0-3. They lose. They're out of the major, and it's done for. They lose to Carolina 3-0. Wasn't particularly close. Exton is really probably only the CDL capable player for this team. I mean, like, he didn't even play particularly well in the series. King might be the only other guy you can maybe make an argument for. DeHoom did step down. I think it was like some health issues with his dad or personal issues. So obviously, hope everything is good there. Never a good thing. You want to have a player be taken off a roster or something because of performance strictly, not because of personal things. So we hope everything's good there. But yeah, I mean, not much to say about this team. King might be CDL capable with the right molding, but it's also hard because Exonid seems like he has the talent and ability and passion to potentially play on the pro level. But when you have no support from your teammates and your teammates aren't good enough, like, he can't showcase what he's capable of. I mean, we see him in 8s frying and, doing some good things there, but like, when your teammates aren't at the level they need to be on the pro level, like, you're never going to be able to showcase your actual like full ability because you're just trying to, overcompensate for so many things your teammates are doing. But this team, I mean, maybe with DeHoom coming out, I guess maybe like Roxas comes back up to the main roster. Maybe King Abadi comes back up to the main roster, like one of the guys they've trialed, or maybe one of the other guys from their challengers team. I know Asim is currently playing with their challengers team, but I don't know how well all of them speak English. I believe they speak some English, but I don't know if they can fully communicate in game in English. I'm not sure about that. They could. I'm just not fully sure if they all speak English, but hopefully we see them like squad wipe and bring in 3, good players, maybe to play with Exonid to at least give him a chance and kind of stick a little bit with their region that they are trying to bring into the scene. But kind of the same thing as every week until further notice. There's really not much to talk about with them. Then we go over to LAG. Yet again, another disappointing weekend from LAG. Team changes have got to be happening or something. You would figure when you look at their Major 2 tournament, obviously only played 1 match, and that was, who was that? I forget for a second. Oh, yeah, Toronto Ultra. Got steamrolled by Ultra in that series, and, I mean, in terms of player stats, no positives to take from it. Lunars and Kismet, the leaders in the 0.8 category. I mean, Priest with a 0.6, Linz with a 0.7. This team is also just chalked, and, like, Linz is playing terribly right now, and it seems like he's not being dropped. I saw like a rumor they're picking up Whalers to be a coach, and Whalers, a French player. It sounds like, I think from what Ban said, I remember him in BO4 and not much after, and it sounds like from what Ban said, he basically hasn't been around the community since BO4. I don't know how true that is or how accurate. I don't know if he's been like, I don't know if he played Challengers post BO4 or not, but I mean, I promise you a coach is not fixing this team. There needs to be a lot more changes. I mean, Linz is playing terrible right now. The whole team overall is playing terrible, but they say they're not dropping him, so I don't know what steps they can take from here because the AR duo, Priesta and Lunars, they're not getting it done. Liz is getting done. Kismet did not play this well this weekend, but he's been at least decent for a greater part of this year, I would say. But I mean, we need 2, 3, maybe full squad wipe to make this team competitive. And I don't see a way with their current roster that they're competitive. And that's why they're in the 11th spot. And then a team with a big falling off. That is the Minnesota Rocker. Did not expect this. I will say I did not expect such a hard fall off. I mean, I figured they were going to lose in the first round, seeing as they had to play Faze. Like I didn't expect them to win in the first round. I thought maybe they keep it like a little bit competitive against Faze. Not really the case. And then I thought, playing Optic with the honeymoon period could be tough for them, but at the same time also like they could very easily beat Optic. Like that wouldn't be a shocking thing to see that happen. But they just look abysmal. I mean, Paul, the 48th KD in the entire tournament. A tough one. Tough weekend for Paul. It's also tough because like he has one bad series, or 2 bad series, I guess I should say. Yikes. Drops a 0.5 out of the tournament, and it's just tough. It's tough scenes for Paul. Been saying it for a while, but he probably has to go. Like, not probably. He has to go. They have to make a change. Tyler Fellow's sitting out there. I just really feel like this team needs a veteran voice and like a player that can just shoot back more. Like Paul is just consistently dropping just low numbers, and like Geo didn't have the best stage either. Nero was even up and down. Estriel had a pretty good stage. Geo and Nero were a little bit inconsistent, I would say, the stage, but they've at least shown this year that they've had stretches of being really good, and we know the talent is there with those two. So like, I don't know. Paul has to go. I think like Fellow or Arcitys are prime examples. There may be other challengers, ARs that I'm missing. Because like I said, I'm not fully watching a ton of challengers. So I'm not like, okay, this AR is out there, this AR is out there. But like a veteran voice like an Arcitys or a Fellow. I mean, Fellow has been frying all of challengers. I know Brack played really well too in a main AR. He's a veteran voice, maybe a player like Brack if he's really good in this game. I know he just won the event. Him and Arcitys are the 2 ARs in the team that just won, I think. Arcitys now won both Challenger lands, if I'm correct there. So, I mean, bringing the 2-time world champ potentially, he's won multiple Challengers events in this game. Obviously, he's pretty decent, and he's a veteran voice. Maybe bringing him in could help this team. Maybe a guy like Brack, a guy like Fellow, like those three guys stick out to me as players that this team should be trying to bring in. A guy like Skies also made sense for this team, but obviously now he's picked up by Optic. I mean, if they want a veteran voice, you know who I would say, but I'm not going to say it because you all are going to freak out. But he's available as well. I believe he's a full free agent, Mr. YY. He's obviously been terrible in this game as well, but who knows? Maybe he turns it around on a different team with a different system. But I'd say like your Arcitys, your Fellow, are guys that this team should be looking at. But right now they're sitting in 10th because they look horrible. Our next team, Optic, Texas. These guys, I guess they looked a little better in their first match, but it was against a crumbling Minnesota Rocker team, so I just don't know how much we can truly take from that. Overall in the tournament with the one good series, the one bad series, Skies is at a 0.7. I mean, Skies numbers wise, nothing he did was much different than Kenny. I mean, they looked better in that first search, I guess. Skies played pretty horrible in the map 1 against the Rocker and finished the weekend with a 0.76. Shottzyy was at a 1.07, Pred at a 1.08, and Dashy at a 1.13. And these stats are even a little bit deceiving because like they absolutely cooked Rocker, and those three put up huge numbers. But then Dashy and Shottzyy had pretty rough ones against the Ultra. Pred still put up decent numbers, but those two had pretty rough ones against the Ultra. It's kind of the same story right now. I mean, they beat up on a team that was worse than them. It's at least good to see them do that because besides LAG, who are like absolutely horrendous in the stage with Kenny, they weren't really able to get any wins. Literally, they couldn't win a single map unless they played LAG, or I guess if you want to consider Falcons in the minor tournament, which once again doesn't really count for much. I mean, the Falcons can't win a map against anybody for the most part. But I don't think we can take much from Optic. I mean, it was extreme struggles this weekend, and I don't know if they're going to get much better. It sounds like, according to Donnie, he talks to Kenny, talks to Dashy. Sounds like it was a really rough time for those guys in that camp, and it sounds like, he thinks the team might just be completely chalked and they need to just do a hard reset, blow it up, and make some changes. We obviously know they're probably not going to get rid of Dashy and Shottzyy. I still don't think they're going to get rid of Pred after they brought him back from what seemed like he would never come back. Skies is probably just a temporary Band-Aid for the year, but Can this team improve? Absolutely. I just didn't think we'd be at the end of Major 2. Going into the year, I didn't think we'd be at the end of Major 2 talking about Optic having to, win a bunch of matches to get into champs. I believe they're split. This split is pretty easy in terms of, we go to 2 qualifiers that only have 5, so it's even more dire for them to, potentially get points, because pulling up the standings here on the side, qualifier standings here. No, I just want to see the whole year for postseason. Where is it? Here we go. Optic are in 6th at 110, but they're tied with Boston, who's also at 110, and Miami's at 100, Cloud9's at 95, Rocker's at 90. So Rocker not playing well right now, but only 20 points behind. So if they have a turnaround, could very easily, move up the rankings. Cloud9 is playing pretty well right now. They're at 95, only 15 behind them. Miami's at 100. They bow out in 12th, but Miami doesn't look like completely terrible. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see them go like 3-2 in online, depending on their schedule. And then Boston at 110. They've looked super down for a while, but they beat LAT on land, and a top 6 finish helps them get some good points. And then, below Minnesota, you've got LAG and Falcons. Like, we're not worried about them. But Optic, like, the 5 teams ahead of them are pretty much locked into champs, you would think, unless they absolutely implode. Like, obviously, Faze, Thieves locked in, Ultra are pretty much locked in, Carolina locked in, Vancouver probably locked in with the way they're playing. So it's going to come down to like Optic, Boston, Miami, Cloud9, Minnesota racing for those last 3 spots, 5 teams there. My early take would be, I think Rocker and Boston are going to miss. I think Optic will figure it out enough to get enough points. Because like, let me look here. Their schedule coming up for their 10 online matches. Where is it here? Can I sort by team? Yeah, here we go. Optic's schedule coming up for their next 10 matches. I believe they're 5. So they have Rocker, who knows, they could be having a team change, and Rocker maybe are a better team. But right now, Rocker are a win that they need to have. Cloud9, who are good, but they're not unbeatable. Miami, same thing. Not a bad team, but not unbeatable. Vegas obviously has to be a win, and then Faze, who they'll lose to, most likely. And then in Major 4, Optic has Surge, who are obviously good, tough match. Boston, a very winnable match. Carolina, a winnable match. LAG, a winnable match. And Ultra, very good again. Just like Carolina and Ultra, they're both good, but they're not Faze and LAT, so they're winnable. So like, just between like Boston, LAG, Falcons, Rocker, Miami, like Optic has plenty of winnable matches. I think they'll be fine, but who knows? They didn't look that much better with Skies. They did kind of the same thing they did with Kenny at the end. They destroyed a reeling, terrible team right now in the Rocker. But I don't know. They're going to get better than they were previously. Like, I just don't see a world where they go 1-6 again. I guess it would be like 1-4 since there's only 5 in this, but I don't see a world where Optic continues to struggle that much. I just don't know if they're ever going to get hit like top 3 form like we expected them to be this year, because they are so far behind teams like LAT, Faze, Surge, Ultra, even Cloud9 and Ravens. They're so far behind those teams right now. And then in 8th, got Miami. Once again, like this next cluster of 3 teams, I could see you dropping Miami below Optic and above Rocker. I could even see you dropping Boston. It's just with the way that, if Miami goes below Optic, I have no problem with that. Like, just the way that Boston are looking, like they've looked bad, but they did beat LAT on land and get a top 6. So like, I just put them ahead of the 2 for now. But in terms of Miami, the change has to happen. Again, like, we've got to take Lucky out, and we've got to put in Super and just try it. Because Metals was actually decent in their series. He had a 1.03 against LAT, and he wasn't actually terrible. Real was, one of the best series we've seen in a while. Real absolutely deserved to win it. That's why it was funny when Ghosty was standing up and talking to him, and it's like, dude, you should be talking to somebody else, because Real was absolutely cooking LAT. And then Rencor obviously had another really good series, but Lucky with the 0.7. Not going to cut it. Like, once again, if Super is even decent enough to come in, put up a 0.9, just be a solid player, get spawns, hold angles, hold an iron, just get your kills, guarantee your ones. Like, this team would instantly become a lot better of a team, because like I said, Real and Rencor, it's criminal that these guys are battling to try to get into champs right now. Like, these guys are a top sub duo in this game. There are certainly sub duos that I would say are better, but Real and Rencor are up there among the best right now. Like, they're currently playing better than the Optic Texas duo, who should be a superstar duo. I'd obviously take the Tiny Terrors over them, and I'd still probably take the LAT subduo for sure, obviously with Hydra and Envoy. You can argue Neptune in 04 right now because Neptune has been unreal in 04, has been playing pretty well. Other than that, though, like the Cloud9 duo is pretty inconsistent. The Royal Ravens duo was good online, but they can't seem to find it on LAN. Toronto is really good. Joe is absolutely cooking, but Kleenex has been struggling. So in terms of pure duos, like they're up there amongst the top 4 or 5 sub duos right now in the game, I would say. And their AR duo is just letting them down. And then when we go over to Boston, I mean, honestly, like I know that they didn't win a match after beating LAT, but the fact that they beat LAT, it was one of the bigger upsets I can remember in quite some time. Like I talked about before in like the preview, I was telling Brock like you go up to get a water during the hard point, it'll probably be over, and LAT will have won it. You go to get go to the bathroom during the search, and it'll be over LAT. And you're up for 15 minutes away. The series is going to be over. LAT is going to steamroll them. Yeah, that was a old takes exposed. Boston were able to take out LAT 3-1. Not even in a game 5. Like I said, if there was some world where they somehow ended up winning it, I was like, it's probably a world where they somehow pull off a hard point and they win 2 searches because I'm like, there's no way they're winning the control. But Boston was able to take them out 3-1. Absolutely insane. On the weekend, their numbers look slightly worse in the 0.9 for both ARs. Purge at a 0.84 and Stoopy at a 1.0. I still think this team probably has to make a change. Maybe for a sub, maybe another AR still, but they're showing fight and they continue to win like random matches to keep themselves in the champs running. Like a top 6 was big for them to at least get some points on the board, especially when teams like Miami were unable to get any points. A team like Carolina finished top 8. A team like Optic finished top 8. Rocker finished top 12. Like all the teams that they're kind of competing with directly in the standings were all finishing top 8 or top 12. So a big weekend for them in terms of that. A guy like Johnny sitting in challengers. I mean, he was really, really solid last year for Vegas, and I feel like he got overlooked because I think he had like a family or a personal issue going on for EWC, and he was unable to play there. So I feel like people just kind of forgot about him. I mean, he's not like he's like a superstar, but he was playing pretty well, and then he was the challengers MVP this weekend. So like, I think a lot of teams that need a sub should be looking at a guy like that, potentially picking him up. I mean, the teams below there, obviously LAG should be looking at literally anyone in any position. Rocker don't really need a sub. I still like Nero and Estriel. Optic, obviously, they don't need a sub. They're probably not looking to make a change either. Very obviously, Heretics don't need a sub. That's why I haven't mentioned Johnny before any of this, because like a lot of the teams below them don't actually need a sub. Obviously, LAG and Falcons can pick up anybody, and it would be an improvement. But Boston, I wouldn't mind seeing them pick up like Johnny for Purge or something here. Maybe they could pick up an AR too. It wouldn't hurt, even though I don't want Boston to get fooled by this top 6 placing, because there's still no way that they have a ceiling to be able to consistently beat top teams or win an event. So I think a change still has to be made. But overall, you can't say it's too negative of a weekend because they were able to beat Thieves and finish top 6. And then we have a pretty big faller here in the 6th spot in the power rankings. It's the Ravens. A disappointing weekend for them. I mean, obviously they end up losing to Surge, which in hindsight, like, Surge, they proved that the online wasn't a fluke, and they were really good. They prove online isn't a fluke, but still, like, Carolina, you're supposed to be a potential 4th team in this league, a potential top 3 with Optic looking bad for sure in the top 6, and you bow out to Surge 3-0 in that first round and didn't frankly look all that competitive. It's just a disappointing weekend for the Royal Ravens. So they're going to drop in this because it's just like they continue to show on land. Like they finished, 4th in the first tournament, but Gwyn didn't look that good. And Gwyn should be this team's best player. He should be the superstar here. And in this tournament, he was at a 0.98, and a lot of those stats come from absolutely frying Vegas. Slasher was at a 0.99, TJ at a 0.94, and Vivid at a 0.86. And like I said, most of those stats come from farming Falcons. So Carolina didn't win a single map that wasn't against Falcons this weekend. They were 0-6 map count against Thieves and Surge, which granted, once again, Thieves and Surge look like 2 of our top 3 teams, probably our 2nd and 3rd team in whatever order you want to choose. So, I mean, you could argue Carolina could be lower right now, maybe below Boston. I still think, like, projecting the rest of the year, I still think Carolina are going to win more matches and be more successful this year than Boston, likely Miami, likely Optic, likely Minnesota, barring changes for those teams. I think they're probably still going to be more successful, so I have them ahead, but there is definitely a world where you could put them below. Then we move to Cloud9, who overall had a pretty good weekend. Like the fact that they 3-0'd Ultra was big time for them. Then they obviously lose to Faze, And they honestly just get a pretty tough draw. Like they beat a good Ultra team that obviously proved, this weekend Ultra went down into lower bracket and, they 3-0'd 3 teams in a row, dominated LA Thieves then. And they were like flawless through the losers bracket and they beat some good teams. But Cloud9 gets a pretty tough draw, to be honest, for them. They beat Ultra, then they have to play Faze, lose to them. And then, of course, because Boston upsets LAT, they have to then play LAT to try to make it to Sunday. So they lost to LAT and Faze, who are obviously teams that they may be, outmatched by. So it's a pretty unfortunate weekend for them, but I don't think it's like fully time to panic. Like, I don't think we fully expect Cloud9 to be beating these top teams, but at the end of the day, like at some point they have to if they want to win. I think it's still a pretty good overall weekend for them. I'm not really like jumping to make changes. Obviously, Kremp, the only guy positive overall on the weekend. Sib still shooting. Attach's numbers really hurt by that series against LAT where he had kind of a stinker. But, I'm not looking to make changes too much for this team. Maybe you keep your like pulse on the team and kind of see what's going on because they are out of the champs running right now, but that's just due to how bad of a start of the year it was. Their AR duo couldn't shoot back while the subs are playing well, and now it's more balanced out, and Sib has been incredible. So I have this team in 5th, although, like, once again, I think it's a little bit of an unlucky weekend, but we'll have to see how they do online in this split. And then we've got a team that I thought for a little bit this weekend was going to win it, and that's Toronto Ultra. I mean, these guys were absolutely red hot in the lower bracket. Yeah, I couldn't remember if they 3-1 or 3-0'd Thieves. They did 3-0 Thieves. So in losers bracket, up until they played Surge in losers finals, they obviously get 3-0'd by Cloud9, drop down to losers, and it's like, oh boy, is Toronto going to underperform this event? And then they 3-0 Gorillas, 3-0 Optic, 3-0 Boston, and 3-0 Thieves. Pretty dominant fashion, a 12-0 run to make it to losers finals, and then they run out of gas against a very red hot Surge team. One of the best weekends I can remember in a tournament for Ben Beans. I mean, it's the first time he's really had like a competitive, really good team in the CDL. But he basically drops a 1.1 on the weekend. Brock and I have been kind of on the Beans bandwagon for a long time. Like we've been saying, this guy is so good. He's a shooter. Like you can obviously see the talent. He hasn't been on a team, I feel like, that he could showcase that talent because like he could have a pop-off series, but they're going to finish top 8 or top 12. So like, what does that do when you don't like, it's something we always talk about. Like, you can be as good as you want, but like if your team isn't on that level and isn't able to, match you, it's not going to matter. And Beans is kind of proof of that. Like he was on these bad teams and it didn't really matter. And now here he is on a good team. And, they have another good performance here where they finished 3rd, just run out of gas. But Beans was awesome. Jodeci's was absolutely incredible. There were times where he looked like the best player in the venue this weekend. He was unbelievable. Insight was decent. He had an up and down weekend. He had some very good moments, some tough moments. And Kleenex, really apart from that losers final where he really struggled, he was pretty good on the weekend. A little bit inconsistent, but once again, this team looked really good. I think they've pretty firmly established themselves as the 4th best team in the league. I mean, really the only arguments like over the last like few weeks would be like Cloud9 and Ravens really fell off, so I don't think they're necessarily in the argument right now. And Cloud9, I think they can be, especially since they beat Ultra, but it's just so weird because like I said, they got the unfortunate draw of playing Faze and Thieves, so it's really tough to kind of gauge where Cloud9 is in comparison to these teams. I do think they settle in 5th, like I said, but even though they beat Ultra, we have to put Ultra ahead of them since Ultra was able to, dominate and go 12 straight in losers bracket to make it into Sunday and make it into the losers final. And then this might be a controversial one. I totally see if you have Surge in your 2 spot just on full recency bias. I'm just keeping LAT ahead of them because, like I said, power ranking is kind of where I rank the teams moving forward. I know Surge had a crazy weekend and they played extremely well. And if you have them at 2, I don't have an issue with it. But I'm putting LAT ahead because I think if we project, like if you were to give me straight odds and you were like, bet who do you think will have the higher average placing at Major 3, Major 4, and Champs between Surge and LAT, I would still be taking LAT to have the higher average placing over the next 3 events, the last 3 events of the year. Like I said, if you have Surge ahead because you think they're a better team right now, I'm not going to argue with you. I think it's a valid argument. I don't think it's like delusional to have them over them by any means. But I'm putting Surge at 3 just because, like I said, if I project the rest of the year, I think overall average placing, I think the Thieves, I don't see Surge winning an event this year. They definitely could. I just don't see it happening. I still think Thieves have a higher likelihood to win an event, and that's why I put them at 2 over the Surge at 3 because, like I said, I think Thieves have a better chance at winning an event, but who knows? I could be wrong, and all of a sudden Seattle could be hoisting up the Major 3 trophy, but I think 2nd might be their peak for the year. But who knows? They looked incredible this weekend. So I'm definitely not going to rule out that they could win a major. Still think Thieves' ceiling is higher. But Neptune, shout out to Neptune. We doubted him for when he was picked up. We were like, we've seen this guy in the league plenty of times, and it just hasn't looked good. He's completely put that to rest now. He was incredible on line. We were waiting to see him do this on LAN. He was incredible on LAN. He was the best player in the venue at times. Nasty was absolutely incredible. Another guy that had a 1.1. 04, a bit up and down, but overall very, very good in the weekend. And Abuza, same thing. A bit up and down, but overall very good in the weekend. This whole team, it's a very good team. Abuza still has the incredible talent. I still don't think we've seen Abuza hit the absolute peak that he can hit. We saw at some maps. He was absolutely frying at some maps, but I still don't think we've seen the consistent peak that I truly think he can hit, which is scary because if he is able to hit that and the other players play how they have, like, it's going to be incredible. This is obviously the best event we've seen from Neptune as a pro because, like I said, his previous LAN events didn't really go all that well before this. And this is definitely the best event we've seen Nasty play as a pro. He was unbelievable this weekend. This team, I'm so glad that they are actually a legitimate good team because, like, I believe that they would at least be, top 6 for sure, maybe top 4. The top 3 would be awesome. I didn't know that I believe that they can make the finals. I really thought this was an LAT Faze finals going into the tournament. But shout out to Vancouver because they make this so much more fun by actually being a legitimate good team on LAN because now you've got LAT who is still really good, but they finished 4th this tournament. You got Toronto who looks really good. Cloud9 looks like they could be competitive. I still believe Ravens could figure it out and be competitive. Boston upset LAT. Miami, the sub duo makes them competitive in every match. Optic still has, guys like shottzyy, Dashy, Pred. Like, they can figure it out at any moment. Rocker seemed like they could be a main AR away from actually being a pretty good team and getting into the mix. So, like, an LAG and Falcons are a nightmare. But, like, we legitimately have 10 teams that, like, can get in the mix. Maybe not win events, obviously. But, like, you got your Faze and Thieves who still seem like the power. Surge seem to be getting into that power with them. Ultra are right there. Like I said, Cloud9 good. Ravens can be good. Boston showed they were at least decent. Miami's competitive. Optic has the talent to potentially get there. And then Rocker, like I said, one roster change away. So I like where we're at here. But shout out to Surge again. They proved they're the real deal and can't give these guys enough praise. Like, I would have loved to see them win. I was rooting for them in the finals because this would have been the first chip for all 4 of them. So it would have been really fun to see. But we'll talk about Faze in a second here. Got LAT at 2. Like I said, you could interchange them with Surge and I would have no problem with it. I just think projecting them going forward, still like Thieves to be the better team to round out this year moving forward. Envoy had a little bit of a tougher weekend at a 0.92, but still, I trust Envoy to bounce back. Ghosty with a 0.97, Hydra with a 1.06, and Scrap with a 1.09. Still think we could see a little bit more out of Hydra. I still want to see Hydra drop a 1.2 one event, just take over, win MVP. But once again, I don't have many worries. It's just like this team, it's a little concerning now. Back-to-back times, they aren't able to get it done on LAN, especially after they were 7-0 in qualifiers. Like, I'm not as concerned with the Major 1 performance because, like, Hydra didn't have his best stuff and they still went to a Game 7 round 11 and were literally a round of search and destroy away from being Major 1 champions. I'm a little more concerned with this one because they were 7-0 online, and, like, if they were to come down to a map 7 again and lose a close S&D, you maybe question their ice in Game 7s or in, like, big search and destroy moments, but, like, you're still, like, they're right there with Faze. This is a little more concerning, though, because they get smoked by Ultra and finish 4th, so a slight bit of concern on if this team can close out, but I'm still not panicking. I still think this team wins an event this year, and if not, I think they're making, like, damn near every finals we have left. And then at 1, should have known they were going to win. They win Major 2. I think that's 3 years in a row now, I want to say. Maybe it's more or less, but I'm pretty sure they won MW2, Major 2 with Slasher. And then they won Major 2 last year, and now they win Major 2 again. They are just inevitable at this point. There was a time in the tournament, though, in the winners final, what was it? They were down 5-4, I believe, in that map 5 against Surge, and Surge had, like, won some pretty crazy rounds, like, clutched up, and I was like, okay, Surge are about to send them to the lower bracket. I still think Faze would probably beat Ultra in that lower bracket, but, like, Surge are about to send them there, and they're going to have the upper hand. They're going to have the veto advantage, and Surge are going to be our team out of winners. And then, of course, like they always do, Faze, they are inevitable. They always do this, and they clutch up 2 rounds in a row. They win, they go to finals, and they handle Surge relatively easily with a 4-0 in finals. Celium dropped a 1.3. He broke the CDL record. I don't think it's the overall COD record. I think Formal still has the single season or single series finals KD record like Ghosts or IW or something. But Celium had like a 1.72 or something in finals. He had a 1.3 on the weekend. Draws with a 1.1 on the weekend. Simp a 1.06 and a BZ a 0.94. These guys are inevitable. They look like they could win every event this year. And I mean, there's not much else you can really say about them. I don't know. Somebody could maybe eventually beat them. Like, it's probably going to have to be LA Thieves or Vancouver or maybe a hot weekend from Ultra or something. But like, these guys look inevitable. And I think the scariest part is I'm going to pull up the stats for that Vancouver Surge match, the final match, I should say. I think the scariest part is just like the way that final went. Like, it wasn't even from, like, we're used to seeing Simp and Abizi kind of dominate in, like, well, pretty much every series. Obviously, Celium and Draza have been incredible this year and have played really well, but usually it's like in these finals, it's like a Simp and Abizi takeover. And they certainly played well enough to win in the finals. Obviously, Abizi was exactly at a 1.0 and Simp was at a 1.04, and they were making their impact on the map, especially in S&D. Abizi played pretty well. Especially in terms of, I don't know, he only had one first blood. Maybe I'm thinking of a search in the winners final. But overall, like, Simp and Abizi were not like incredible in the finals. It was really Celium and Draza kind of putting on a show. Draza had a 1.28 and Celium had a 1.72. Like I said, this all-time CDL record for KD in a finals. And I mean, that's the scariest part is like their ARs were kind of the reason that they propelled and won this final. And we're used to seeing like, a lot of times it's Simp and Abizi just like pushing his team over the edge, going full takeover mode. So just to know that they have this in their bag where like, oh, ARs can take over and win them a series, which we always knew they could, but like to see it happen in a finals in this dominant of a fashion is pretty crazy. And I think it's scary because like the knock-on phase has always been like they make it to like damn near every finals. Their average placing is like 2.4 or something, which is just ridiculous. The fact that it starts with a 2, usually even like a 3. An average placing of 3 point something is ridiculous because you're going to have a random top 12, but these guys just don't have that. And it's scary because like the knock on them has always been that they can't convert their finals. Like, they'll make plenty of finals and they'll be competitive and, you know, they'll go through winners bracket and then all of a sudden they get to finals and they just crumble. Like, I think Celium's overall record now is like 11-13. I think for Simp and Abizi, the win losses are obviously they have a few more wins, a few more losses. But like, the knock has always been they can't close it out. Now it's 3 straight events, and if you include EWC, where they closed that one out on land, they closed Major 1 out, and they closed Major 2 out, and it's like, that was the one knock you had. Like, they consistently play super high. They're always putting up good numbers. They're always incredible players. They're always, Abizi and Simp are always 2 of the top SMGs. Cell and Draza, or Cell, especially if you just want to talk about the trio, is always a top AR, and it's just like, the one thing you can do to hold them back is be like, well, they can't close out finals. And now here they are. They have closed out 3 straight finals, and they certainly looked poised as of now with LAT, with their struggles and the fact that I don't know that Vancouver can beat them in a best of 7 series. Like, they certainly look like the favorite to take out Major 3 unless something wild happens, and they're certainly the favorite for the rest of the year. Like, they're on pace to potentially do something historic and, you know, win maybe 3 straight events in one season. It would be 4 if you include the EWC. They haven't lost a LAN match since champs. Against Ultra when they were eliminated. They haven't lost a LAN match since then, which is like, what, June or July of 2024. So, I mean, with the break until April, if they go undefeated in online qualifiers, which I'll pull up their schedule. In the online qualifiers here, do they have a tough set of matches? I mean, they're the favorite in every match they play, but they play Ultra and Ravens, who, you know, are tough, but they should win. Then they play Miami and Falcons and Optic. So like, they should win their last 3. Miami, Falcons, and Optic. They should win all 3 of those. They should beat Carolina. Ultra is their toughest one. If they beat Ultra, they're probably going 5-0. So I mean, I guess that's not LAN, but like, they're going to be undefeated on LAN just with the way that these matches go. The tournament starts. When does that tournament starts? April 24th. So yeah, I mean, if they're able to, you know, win all the series and win that major again, that would push them all the way until like the second last weekend in May. They'd be undefeated on LAN for almost a calendar year. The only way it would happen is if they win every tournament, because that would make it basically a calendar year if they win it at champs. But the fact that we're even talking about it could get close to like 9, 10, 11 months without losing on LAN is absolutely insane. These guys are inevitable. Simp, Abizi, Celium, even Draws. I know he hasn't been on the team as long, but like these guys continue to climb up the ranks. I mean, Draws is a 7-time champion now, I believe, with the 1 ring and looks like the favorite to get a 2nd ring. I mean, Simp and Abizi have a crazy amount of chips, especially for like the fact that less tournaments are around now. The fact that they're all like 11, 12, 13, 14 chips, like in that range, and multiple rings for Simp and Abizi. Obviously, still 1 for Celium. He wasn't on the United team that won it, but these guys keep climbing up the rankings. And I mean, if they win their 3rd ring this year and keep racking up the wins and keep playing, and maybe go for a 4th ring or something. Obviously, a long ways to go for that. They still have to win ring number 3, but man, they're looking pretty much inevitable at this point. So there are the power rankings. I mean, in terms of roster changes, I'm probably going to wait to do too much news on those because like I want to kind of hear some of the rumors that come out. Like as of now, like when I started recording, there weren't really any rumors out for anything. Like I said, I want to see a team like Falcons just blow it up, maybe put 3 players around Exnid. LAG, maybe you can keep Kismet. Maybe you can keep Lunars if you think he could be better on like a team with some more competent players, but some changes obviously have to be made there. Rocker, just change out Paul X. The other 3 are pretty good. Optic, I don't think are going to make a change after bringing in Skies. Miami, super in for Lucky. Boston, I wouldn't still mind seeing like bringing in Johnny or whoever you think the top sub is, as well as like an Arcitys or a Fellow or somebody else in. Carolina, you're probably sticking it out. You could replace somebody, but you're just going to have to trust like Gwyn is way too good online and way too good of a player. Like you just have to trust at some point it's going to click for him on LAN. Maybe you could change out Vivid because I think he does kind of limit your ceiling as much as I love him. But other than that, like the rest of the teams, like probably not seeing any changes made there. Obviously not seeing any in our top 3. Ultra obviously not making a change. And I would assume Cloud9. Going to look at who they lost to on the weekend and not make a change because I think they're pretty good. But should be interesting to see that going forward. Like I said, probably next week we'll start to hear, or throughout this week, we'll start to hear some roster changes. So I'll probably end up looking at those and talking about potential roster changes. But we are going to end this video out with the CDL gridlock. When we do this, when Brock and I started doing this last week, I should say, we're not usually going for like the absolute like record in terms of like getting like when you do the like the lower, like when you do like the sports grids, you go for like the lowest percentage. I don't want to make these take like 10, 15 minutes thinking about who the lowest is. So just going to go with like first answers that come to mind. And like, I feel like for this one, I think it's only 2 answers because Celium only has 11 chips. I feel like this is kind of a trick here. It's Atlanta and 12 championships. I think it's kind of a trick because Celium only has 11. And in terms of players that have actually played for Atlanta, like Arcitys, I'm trying to think if there's like somebody lower percentage. But I think Simp is usually the answer for more things. So I'm going to go with Abizi here for the Atlanta and 12 plus chips. Next one, team with John and played for Atlanta. I mean, the first guy that comes to mind is Slasher. Is he the only answer? I guess, well, I will go for lower percentages when it's like when I can actually think of it. I'm going to go Draza here actually because Draza did team with him on LAT for like champs in like Cold War, right? I think so. Or they teamed during the year or something. And then team with Fame in Atlanta. It's obviously nobody on like the current team. I don't know. I'm going to come back to this one. Okay, at least 27 with 12 chips. I mean, like Scump, Crim, Formal, like those guys come to mind. I'm going to go with more of an OG. I feel like a lot of people are going to answer Scump, Crim, Formal. I'm going to go with Hecz for this one. Shout out to Hecz, one of my favorite pros of all time. And then at least 27 team with John. That could be Slasher here, right? I'm going to go Slasher because he won champs with him. He's obviously at least 27. We'll go Slasher here. At least 27 team with Fame. The first guy that came to mind is Attach or Assault. I'm going to go Assault. Let's go Assault. Boom. Vegas Legion, 12 wins. I mean, that just like kind of has to be Clayster, right? I think he's the only guy that played for Vegas and has 12 wins. I think. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else that could have done that. Team with John and Las Vegas Legion. Donnie Temp. Oh, actually, Donnie's got to be the most. I'm gonna go Tej. Tej teamed with him again on LAT, and also Tej played for Vegas. And then Vegas Legion and teamed with Fame. That's gotta be like Attach? Or actually no. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go Attach because he definitely teamed with Fame on Rocker and he was on Vegas, so he's gotta be an answer here. Okay, then team with Fame in Atlanta. It's gotta be like an early, like who's their MW19 team? The Terrors and Celium, none of them team with Fame. Major Maniac, did he team with Fame on Minnesota at any point? I don't think so. Oh, and well, Priesta, yeah, Priesta team with Fame. So Priesta has to be an answer here. I guess I'm trying to think. Could Major Maniac be an answer here? Okay, Priesta was an answer. Is he? Okay, no. So I'm 100% of the players Priesta. So I think that means he's the only answer, unless maybe it could be Major and nobody answered it yet. So we did pretty good. We didn't have the top answer for too many, I don't think. Yeah, that's going to do it for this one, though. We're going to try to end the videos with these. Next week might be a shorter episode because it'll probably be a solo one again, unless something weird happens. It'll probably be a solo episode again because, like I said, Brock is in Japan for this week's episode and next week's. He should be back for the Monday episode following week 1 of stage 3. That was a mouthful. And then after Brock gets back in that first episode back, we might have a little something new that we've been trying to plan here for a bit. So if you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. I hope you guys had fun watching the major. Honestly, it was kind of a mid-major until Sunday. It was 3-0s across the board. We didn't have a single game 5 for like 20-something straight matches until the winners final, and then even the final was kind of a snooze with the 4-0. So a little bit of a boring tournament with the fact that we didn't have like any Game 5 gruelers besides the one series in winners final, which ended up being an awesome series. It went to around 11, obviously, but kind of a little bit of a boring weekend. So I'm hoping at the next tournament we see a lot more Game 5s. But like I said, if you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Hope you guys enjoyed this little solo episode. I miss Brock. I hate having to just yap and just fill so much space. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.